Well, anyway, we'll go ahead and we'll look at some clips. I kind of want to look at some clips, just kind of just how people view finance, just in general. And we're going to start with one from Kevin Hart, and I'm going to give you a little context after we watch it. But this is Kevin Hart on Joe Rogan, and they're talking a little bit about he's talking a little bit about finance and ambition and things like that.
When you see what's out there,
Like what kind? You mean physical things? Like what
when
do you
you
mean?
see what's out there, when you see where people are really gaining wealth and knowledge from, okay? The business relationships that you're able to acquire, the people that you're able to partner with and create certain things, different revenue streams. What I found is, as a young black guy from North Philadelphia, the biggest problem within our community is knowledge. We don't know. Debt is welcomed because it's celebrated. That's all we know. Yeah, I'm gonna get that credit card. I'm gonna fuck that credit card up, and it is what it is. They gotta figure that out. I ain't got it after that. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm getting student loans. They gave it to me. Then after that, shit, it is what it is. I'm figure it out. And I'm putting capability in your name. You put it in my name. We can switch it up. Whatever they do it, then let's just put it in somebody else's name. It's welcome. The hustle is welcome. The knowledge of banks and what you can do or can't do is fucking, you don't even get it because you go to check cashing places. The reason why you go to check cashing places is because I don't want to go do that shit with the banks. I don't trust that. Go right there to check cashing place. Let me get mine. Let me get mine now. Take $30, whatever. Let me get it. The knowledge isn't given. So it's not till you obtain that knowledge and understanding that you go, oh shit. Oh, this is why you put money up. Oh, this is how you increase versus decrease. Oh, this is how you earn on your money. Oh.
So I want to hit that because that is a phenomenal point that he just made. Is that, well, a lot of the people, especially lower income people that grow up like that, they don't know how the system works. And they're constantly getting screwed by it. It's the old saying, and it's true in finance. It is really expensive to be poor. Because you can't afford to do some of these. You can't afford to park your car in the garage. You got to park it on the street. You get a ticket. So now you're paying whatever, $25 for a parking ticket, right? Oh, I can't really set up a bank account. I don't have the credit, or I just don't know how to, or there's not a bank conveniently by. So I'm going to go to a check cashing place. And then every time I cash my check, like I said, they're taking $30 out of my check.
Or I can afford to set up an account at a financial institution, but I don't make enough money to meet the minimum balance requirements. Therefore, I have to pay the monthly service fee when somebody with more money doesn't.
Right. And if you're talking about that 25 here, 30 there, if you're somebody who's making $15 or $20 an hour, $50 is 2.5 hours of your time. And that's just like that. Gone. That's 2.5 hours of your time that's just wasted out of that paycheck. Right? So he makes a good point there that there's a severe issue of, well, A, this shouldn't happen in the first place, in my personal opinion. But B, part of this is also we're not educating these people. And it's not something, I mean, you teach at the school. We're not teaching these basic things at the school. It's not like, when we were in school, it's like you had to take a basic class where they taught you how to balance a checkbook. They taught you how a credit card worked. I mean, I remember that I got that in high school, and it was just one day, but at least I had an idea when I got into it.
Interesting. So when I was in high school, we had to take government and economics. Government and economics was a semester class, but it was divided into 1 quarter of government, 1 quarter of economics.
Mm-hmm.
But in economics, I don't know that they did such a fabulous job of teaching us very high-level economics, but they actually did teach us some things about personal finance, literally balancing a checkbook. In a very, very basic sense, they taught us how to follow the stock market, like things going up and down, and some very basic things around that. So I do feel fortunate in that it was covered at all. I think they missed a lot of things, but it was covered at least some.
Yeah, but I went to a nice high school in the suburbs, and so I got a lot of that. I can see where if you went to a poorer high school, part of this too is how we fund schools, but that's a whole nother topic about how we fund school. Anyway, so this whole thing is this whole deal with Kevin Hart here is this is part of a bit where he just got hired by Chase Bank as a spokesperson. And part of the deal he did, and I feel like he kind of got a little screwed here. I don't know the full situation. Whereas he wanted to do these videos that were YouTube video kind of things that were accessible to everybody about basic finance kind of stuff. Budgeting. Yeah, stuff like we did. What it ended up being was, and I watched all of them. There are only like 5 or 6 of them, and they're only a few minutes long each. It basically ends up just being advertising for Chase Bank. And they don't really teach anybody anything. They don't get into budgeting. They have like celebrity appearances, like athletes and shit show up and talk about being disciplined with your money, but they don't ever tell you what is a budget. How does credit work? They don't ever get into any of it. And I don't know if that was that he got nailed or whatnot, but I do know that before he did that, shortly before he did that, this happened. So Chase Bank, who hired him, all right, and he met with Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO. This happened to Jamie Dimon not too long before he got that deal and did that video on Joe Rogan. This happened to Jamie Dimon.
So where we left off was this woman had, and I apologize, you're going to need to follow orally. She had $2,425 a month. She rents a 1-bedroom apartment. She and her daughter sleep together in the same room. In Irvine, California, that average 1-bedroom apartment is going to be $1,600. She spends $100 on utilities. Take away the $1,700 and she has net $725. She's like me. She drives a 2008 minivan and has gas, $400 for car expenses and gas, net $325. The Department of Agriculture says a low-cost food budget, that is ramen noodles, a low food budget is $400. That leaves her $77 in the red. She has a Cricket cell phone, the cheapest cell phone she can get for $40. She's in the red $117 a month. She has after-school childcare because the bank is open during normal business hours. That's $450 a month. That takes her down to negative $567 per month. My question for you, Mr. Dimon, is how should she manage this budget shortfall while she's working full-time at your bank?
I don't know that all your numbers are accurate. That number is it generally a starter job?
She is a starting employee. She has a 6-year-old child. This is her first job.
You can get those jobs at a high school, and she may have my job one day. So
she may, but Mr. Dimon, she doesn't have the ability right now to spend your $31 million.
Always sympathetic.
She's short $567. What would you suggest she do?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Would you recommend that she take out a JP Morgan Chase credit card and run a deficit?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Would you recommend that she overdraft at your bank and be charged overdraft fees?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
So I know you have a lot
I'd love to call up and have a conversation about her financial affairs and see if we can be helpful.
See if you can find a way for her to live on less than the minimum that I've described.
Just be helpful.
Well, I appreciate your desire to be helpful, but what I'd like you to do is provide a way for families to make ends meet so that little kids who are 6 years old living in a 1-bedroom apartment with their mother aren't going hungry at night because they're $567 short from feeding themselves, clothing. We allow no money for clothing. We allow no money for school lunches. We allow no money for field trips, no money for medical, no money for prescription drugs, nothing. And she's short $567 already. Mr. Dimon, you know how to spend $31 million a year in salary, and you can't figure out how to make up a $567 a month shortfall. This is a budget.
So that's just, I know I let that run a little bit, but that's the point. And she's kind of hit the point there, which is you make $31 million a year. You're a financial genius. You run a bank, one of the biggest banking industries, but you're underpaying your employees. And you can't figure out how they're going to make up the difference. That was beyond the number of scandals that they've been in, right? That was a huge humiliation from that went viral. And the Kevin Hart video, is heartfelt as it was, and as much as I empathize with Kevin Hart and agree that, yeah, that's a problem, what it ended up being was for him to pitch that he was going to be the new spokesperson for Chase Bank, and they were going to do these videos to help people out, which ended up not really doing that at the end of the day. So it's all nice and well and good, and I understand that, but I think the point here is I have two minds on this. One is, yes, it would be better if we educated these people. It would be better, though, if we just made the system into a way that it was more difficult or illegal to take advantage of people like that. I think that would be a much better solution up front. On top of that fact, you don't see change until you're fucking humiliated or somebody's humiliated. There has to be some sort of forceful thing. It can't just be that we just talk to people and, oh, just do the right thing shit. Well, it doesn't work if you're stuck in a system where you don't even know what the right thing is. Then everybody's, picking at you and nickel and diming you. So that would be my argument on that whole thing. But I thought that was interesting. I think Kevin Hart, was in the right place. But I think Jamie Dimon is doing what he has to do to cover his ass as a business. So I don't know if you had anything to add on that one.
Right. Well, I feel like when it comes to the corporation, the people that are running it obviously have to cover their ass and have to try to keep their business profitable, and they're just willing to do whatever to try to save face in that respect. But, a spokesperson that's also just trying to earn their living could still simultaneously see it as an opportunity to hopefully put something positive out there, despite them possibly even understanding that maybe the motive's not so pure.
Well, I think Kevin Hart kind of did, but I don't think he really knew what he was getting into or what he was doing. Which
probably not.
Kind of goes back to his earlier point, which is that's where you get tags when you don't know what you're getting into or what you're doing. I mean, it's a little bit ironic in a sad way. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think what Jamie Dimon did here was horrible. He did eventually raise pay and all that, but it takes something like getting humiliated in front of Congress on national television to get those changes to happen. Right. And it takes, with Kevin Hart's situation, it's like, well, you didn't really get what you wanted, but at the same time, he did get a job as a spokesperson making fucking God knows how many millions doing that. So, I'm not like dogging anybody on that one. I'm just sitting there saying it's, know what you're walking into, right? I don't think there was like any ill intent. I think a lot of it was just business, but at least kind of know what you're getting into, right? If you're going to sell out, at least know what you're getting.